Good morning. That was Nat King Cole with about an hour and a half of Unforgettable. This is the Unforgettable program, Viewpoint, appearing each Wednesday morning on WLCN, that vaunted station, 96.3, in case you didn't look at your dial. My erstwhile assistant, Mrs. Busby, is bright as ever. And
More's the pity.
Depends on how you define bright, that's all.
Yeah, right.
The first thing we will do is, we always try to start with kudos, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I feel moved and really moved to make a remark or two about the St. John United Church of Christ Youth. They annually now, for several years, they've had a veterans recognition, and once again, the time has come around, and I think that started under the aegis of Tony Reifsteck. I kind of think she's the one that nudged those young folks into that. I served with Tony on your school board a number of years. In any event, St. John's United Church of Christ and their youngsters are putting on a program for the veterans. And so we appreciate that very much, folks. Judith Kay, let's get into business here.
Well, we've got some real business going here, I'll
Seriously.
tell you. We have 3 guests, which makes this room very intimate, doesn't it? We'll know one another.
We're definitely getting to know each other.
Kent Froebe, of course, is the superintendent of District 27, the school district with which Bill and I were affiliated for years and years through our children.
Well, and it's good to join you again, but I'm mainly here because they thought they'd get lost on the way to the station. So mostly Chef Greg is joining us?
Yes, and his last name is Christian, and Greg is a chef.
Yes.
A real chef.
Yep.
I am not, Greg.
I believe you.
Trust me.
I told you, you're believable.
Oh, she is that. She's among many things.
Be believable or a chef?
No, I'm not.
You're
going
to go with believable.
Believable.
All right, well, have it your way. Okay, and food service director for District 27, Connie Crowley.
Who's the reason we started early, because she wanted to stop at Lawndale Tap on the way up.
We only had one.
Bless
Mr.
her heart.
Froebe forgot the corporate credit card.
Pacing herself. Well, this is just something that is totally new to me. Of course, we're going to be talking about food, and you may wonder in your mind, why in the world are we talking about food in District 27? Well, the Hospital Foundation gave you both the idea and the wherewithal to start this program. Is that right? Well, tell us about how in the world the Hospital Foundation fits in with 27, and then we're going to move on to the why.
So it would have been around wintertime last school year, Angie Stolzenberg approached me about moving our school kitchens to scratch cooking. And I thought, oh, that's a wonderful idea and concept, but I'm not sure how we would be able to do that. Yeah. And she said, well, I've got just the person. We've got Chef Craig, and the foundation would be willing to financially support having him come in and train our staff and work with Mrs. Crowley. And that's all it took. We're definitely on board. So we're excited. We've been working for many months now with Beyond Green, and we were thinking, what should we name this, this initiative, and we came up with Lincoln 27 and Beyond, which is only fitting for Lincoln 27 and then Beyond Green Partners, and it was the same time that Toy Story 4 was coming out, so we thought, that just ties right in with Toy Story 4 with Infinity and Beyond, the famous quote. So
here we are.
So here we are, yeah.
Well, I think this is just great.
May I take 30 seconds or less?
Yes,
to
and
interject a personal
I'm timing
comment.
you, remember.
I've been around a long time, and I've seen some school administrators come and go. You taxpayers in District 27, and I'm not trying to stroke you, Kent. I really believe this. You taxpayers in District 27 are getting a lot for your money with our superintendent. I worked under one of the best superintendents we ever had was Les Plotner. So I know good superintendents. And so
I appreciate that, yeah.
Well, we appreciate the job you do for us, sir. Taking hold of this initiative that you were offered by the hospital foundation, rather than just oh God, I don't want to do that. You saw some value in that, and so look where we are today. And Connie, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
I might mention. She knows the sheriff real well.
Oh, yeah, she does.
He's a whale of a guy, by the way.
I can tell you stories.
And she still likes him real well, too.
I do.
Well, what's not to like with Mark Landers? Yeah. Okay, let's get serious here now.
Bottom line is that this is going to amount to food cooked from scratch. That's why the term scratch came up. Instead of
Processed.
banquet food, I mean banquet brand.
Greg, what's the modus operandi there? How do we prepare this? You're preparing for a number of youngsters, and food from scratch might be a little different in my kitchen and your kitchen.
Yeah, the main idea is that if we can find out what kids want to eat, and we do that by talking to them and talking to Connie and her team, because they're from this town, right? We're not. Mm-hmm. And so the kids say what they want to eat, the cooks say what they want to make, and then we go talk to farmers and say, farmers, what do you have? And then we kind of melt those three together, local farmers.
Yeah.
And then we start cooking. And the hard part there is they're in schools in general in America, there's not a ton of cooking anymore. There's a lot of reheating.
Uh-huh.
And so it's not just in Connie's district, it's kind of everywhere. So we did a 2-week training in August to get the cooks, 15 cooks she has, all women.
Well, it takes a lot of kids to feed.
Well, we're making over 1,000 lunches a day and, over 500 breakfasts. So when you go from reheating chicken patties to buying raw chicken and cutting it and cooking it, it's a thing.
Oh, gosh.
So we have to ease in, right? Because the ladies all know how to cook. The biggest meal they make a year is probably Thanksgiving dinner at home once a year, right?
Yeah, right.
So we have to really respect where they're at and not go too fast, but always make progress. If we go too fast, they cut and burn themselves and they get upset, and then they want we've been doing this a long time all over the country, and I started 15 years ago, and I used to have a lot of upset people because we moved too fast. Right? So now we have empathy for where the cooks are, and so we constantly are trying new food and talking to the cooks, and is this working? How do you make it better? Put your own spin on it. Talking to the kids, do you like it? What don't you like about it? And trying to improve it. And Connie has the hardest job of everyone because it's a more complicated system. So with the already done food, it's pretty easy to open up a can of green beans or a bag of frozen green beans and heat them up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it takes some skill, but it's pretty straightforward. But now we buy raw green beans that we have to pick and wash and cut. More labor, more thinking. So
more vegetable matter, though, and much more food value.
We think at a minimum, the hope is that it tastes better, so they eat it. And one of the things we do is we measure plate waste every day to keep an eye on, are they really eating it? Mm-hmm. Right? And so we're 3 months in. And in the 3 months in, what Connie, she'll tell you what she's learned, but what ends up happening is a lot more thinking and planning has to go into it. So there's way more brain power needed. There's more physicality. Picking and cutting green beans, roasting beets, cutting raw chicken, right? Making hamburgers. So there's definitely more physicality, but the thinking is way more it's a way more complicated puzzle. And we try to explain that it's a more complicated puzzle when we start, but people don't really believe me. So we told Connie it's going to be way more complicated, and she's like, "What?
No problem."
And she's like, "I'm pretty smart. It's not, And I mean, she's not a braggart at all. She's like, "Oh," and Mr. Froebe, who let us in, said, "Connie's pretty smart. She can figure this out," and she can, and she
Yes.
is.
Yes.
But the first few months, the brain pain is real. And I'd love her to not talk about the brain pain, because that's a little weird.
Was there any pushback on behalf of the staff? That would be understandable for you.
It would be, yes. And it was many of them were hired, to come in. Again, we deal with processed foods and opening up cans. And so some of them cooked at home, but not a lot of them, did a lot of scratch cooking. So it's, as Greg calls it, convenience food that we serve. So we like using that. So many of the staff, they're definitely all on board. They were willing to try it. This was not something that Mr. Froebe decided on his own or I decided on my own. We went to all 18 of my staff members and we had a meeting. And then our head cooks at each school went to a meeting with Greg and his team and the district office. So it wasn't a quick decision made. So and then we went back to them and said, okay, what are you thinking? Are we on board? And they were all on board. So they've done a great job. Again, as Greg talks about growing pains, it has been. We've had, some stuff, just trying to understand the reasoning, because we also can't just cook anything. We have a state board of education that I have to do my nutrition. So we can't add lots of salt to stuff, and plenty of things taste good when you add the fattening stuff, but that's stuff we cannot add. So that's another piece that they've had to go ahead and make, but they've done really well. We're all I've got a great staff, and they've done really well.
How lucky the kids are that decision has been made. Nobody likes to hear an old man talk about in my day, but we didn't serve meals in schools. We walked home.
Oh, yeah.
In my case, I didn't have to walk but about 8 blocks. But at noon, the school shut down and we went home.
All the way through senior year?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Oh,
Same for you,
absolutely.
Judy?
Oh, no. No, I lived in
Well, she's
Minneapolis.
just a
It was a
child.
big town. Yeah, really, an 80-year-old child. No, mine was like Connie has had. It was a lunchroom, and we had pretty much prepared food, but it was very comparable to what my kids had gone through in District 27 and 404.
Well, I think the cooks have been wonderful. I mean, change is difficult for anyone.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a big change, but they've really stepped up and embraced it, as have the teachers and the secretaries and the custodians and really everybody across the district.
Do you get any
embraced it.
feedback from parents, sir?
We have. I mean, we have gotten when we had our training this summer. I'm a Disney person, so we brought in High School Musical. We're all in this together. And as Mr. Froebe stated, it can't. When Greg came in, he said it can't just be me. It can't just be me and my team. It really is a district and community-wide initiative. So bringing in the hospital and bringing in the teachers play a part, the secretaries play a part, the custodians, I mean, they all have a part in this whole initiative. So we have parents who come to our monthly meetings that they give their input. And I know we've heard quite a bit in the community of the positives of this. So let us hear a little bit about some of the comments you've gotten from those who are in the real trenches, the people who are eating the meals. Okay.
The short people.
Well, I'll tell you my one, just because it's the most current. Yesterday, I had a student, we were doing black beans with our Mexican lasagna, and this was at Central, and one student was like, oh, we roasted them. I'm like, well, how are kids really going to like them? I mean, they kind of look juicy, and will they look appealing? Because I do want the kids to look at it and be like, okay, I want to try this. So we ended up roasting them. We added some different seasonings, some chili powder and different seasonings to it. And, so I went out into the cafeteria and went table to table. I had my own black beans because, again, if adults aren't willing to try it, kids aren't going to try it. So I went out, and this one student was like, no thank you, I'm not. I'm like, well, let's take a no thank you bite, because that's our thing. Just take
Let's
a
let
no
her
thank
think.
you bite.
That's her thing. That's yeah.
So
Out of the box.
I had this student, and I said, okay, so we do the table, and I had some in my hand. I'm like, okay, everybody pick up one. So we're gonna do this, and then we did 1, 2, 3, and we all had it. And the kid, his first thing was like, oh my goodness, that is really good. And then he ended up eating the rest. So from that, no, I don't want to try it, to trying it just once, it really was. Had it. So that was one example. Some kids said a little too spicy, so they kind of give us their opinions, and then we take that back and redo the recipe. And if the majority of them are saying they don't like it, or that's too spicy, or because we don't want to feed them, I want their bellies to be full, because I know that affects their learning throughout the day. I mean, they're going to go to the class hungry, they're going to have problems with discipline or just them learning. So we really want to make sure that they're...
And I'm sure that that's the thinking process that brought about serving breakfasts at school. I don't think they had that when our kids were there, Bill. Did they? Did they have
Are you
breakfast?
funning me?
I don't think so.
No,
we had with
no.
the state mandates, if you have a certain percentage of free and reduced, you have to offer breakfast. So our numbers have gone up. We're still encouraging and trying to get kids in there, because, again, if they're hungry, their morning will kind of affect their classroom time. So we really are trying to encourage, and those smells, we had banana bread the other day, so that the kids come in and they smell that homemade banana bread, and they're like, oh, we're going to eat. So that's...
Well, you have to get up before breakfast to get homemade banana bread.
We do, yes. Our first shift comes in at 6.
Oofta.
So...
She's just turning over then.
I've never seen
She mentioned, Connie mentioned roasting, and it occurred to me as I sit here watching the clock move around, we're going to get roasted by our sponsors if we don't take a few minutes time to recognize them. So we're going to take a commercial break right now. Go right ahead, Mr. Rash. Right back live in the studios here. The program is what is the name of this program, please?
I can't remember.
I see there's a problem right there. Viewpoint. We have some special guests this morning, Mr. Kent Froebe, and I got it, Greg Chandler. I wanted to make...
Greg Christian.
Greg Christian, yes. I wanted to make sure of that. And Connie Crowley. Connie has some special credentials. She just had to be the sister of one of the best sheriffs we've had in a long time. And I hope that'll get me off writing a ticket between here and back home. Greg, your profession is somewhat unique in my way of thinking. Tell us your background. How did you get into... Most men cook in the backyard,
Yeah,
and they grill steaks and ruin them.
and they say that they're the grill guy, and then they blow the grill. Why they say they're the grill
So
guy?
how did you get in this profession, sir?
I was the oldest of 6 kids, and
Oofta.
I loved to cook and help my mom. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember, I think my mom cried every Christmas present I got her. I got her things like a broom, and like a waffle maker.
But your motives were pure.
They were pure, and then I couldn't. And then she would cry, and I didn't know why, but she wouldn't say anything. And I was just trying to help her. It was very innocent, and luckily I've outgrown that.
Did you have any brothers and sisters who enjoyed
6.
cooking?
Oldest
No,
of
no,
6.
no. I know, but did they enjoy cooking? Not so much.
They do. Yeah, they did. But I loved it.
Well, bless your heart.
And so I just kind of fell into it, and I went to a chef's school in New York, and I loved it. And then I worked in Chicago and New York City in super fancy places. And
Now, how did you get into the business of this teaching end of it?
my second daughter was sickly, and she had really bad asthma. She had emergency room asthma that turned into intensive care
Oh my.
twice asthma, real bad. And so her mother was at her wit's end. She was the primary caretaker, right? I was working. And that's just how it worked out. And we went to all organic food and continued Western medicine. And no more hospital. Now, it wasn't a double-blind study. I can't prove to anyone that it was the food. But then, when I saw her getting better, it was confusing to me. Because I was the chef
Yeah,
of
right.
years and years. And I know a lot about food.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, I care about what all kids eat. I don't know why I started thinking about this, because I was very egotistical, chasing glamour and fame and money. Right?
Well,
I mean,
that's
100% of my
stereotypical.
life.
Diogenes, throw away your lamp. We found the honest man.
And so I used to do a lot of cooking for Mayor Daley in Chicago.
That's interesting.
And I did all their parties, and from Maggie's book club parties, which were like 250 people big.
Oofta.
The biggest book party you've ever, and then I would do the mayor's like lunches for 3 in City Hall.
Really?
One day I cooked for him, Tom Ridge, the first Homeland Security boss, and Governor Blagojevich in the 911 center, and I set off the fire alarm. And so fire trucks came to the 911 center, and I was kind of famous because all the Secret Service were like, it's the caterer. And I'm like, so.
Well, I think you and I maybe have a little commonality there. The kids used to say, I think supper's done, the smoke alarm's going.
Well, I didn't burn anything.
Oh,
but
good.
I would set off fire alarms. So I went to Mayor Daley and I said, hey, I think I want to try to change the way we feed kids in school. And I don't know, and I wrote a business plan with the help of other smart people, smarter than me. And he said, I'll open that door for you. And so I went into Chicago Public Schools, completely ignorant, like a bull in a china shop, because I knew I was the mayor's guy, so nobody could touch me. I wasn't the nicest. And every once in a while, my not niceness peeks out in Lincoln, and people see it. But then I bring it back. 'Cause I'm like, oh my God, the old Greg is here. The old Greg is going to get kicked out of Lincoln.
Oh, no.
But then I do want to meet the head sheriff, so maybe I can be a little less nice and not get kicked out. No. And so I went into Chicago Public Schools with Josephine, who works in Lincoln now with me, and other people, and we attempted to change the menu, and that was 15 years ago. So for the last 15 years, we've been trying to figure out how do we work in a new land that we don't understand, and we never totally will, because we're not from, in this case, Lincoln. How do we work with people and get them to head towards a new, different way that's a little harder, where they feel completely respected and taken care of, right? Where the kids end up eating the food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a strange path. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't like I woke up and, I wasn't a little boy that said, oh my God, I want to change school food. And so it just kind of happened. And I've just been going with it and learning. So we learn just as much as everybody else. We're learning a ton in Lincoln. A ton. People want things like, when we talked to the kids and the cooks, they said, we want to eat like chicken and noodle or beef and noodle. We had no idea what that is.
Horseshoes. You'd never heard of a horseshoe.
And horseshoes and other things, we
Interesting.
and even if they say meatballs, like we don't know. So we have we have a Chicago meatball or a whatever meatball, but what is a Lincoln meatball? We don't know. Yeah. So we talk to the cooks. What do you mean? Like the burgers, like we want to serve plain local beef with salt and pepper on it.
Yeah.
But the cooks here might want to mix onions and ketchup in it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So we don't care. Let's do it your way. So we have to be, what we've learned in the last 15 years is that we can't listen well enough. That's the key. Mm-hmm. Like, it's listening, empathy, but then continuing to
Moving forward.
move forward.
You talk about watching the trays as they return them. Are you finding that there's less left on the trays now with this methodology than you used to have?
It's up and down, I think. The vegetables are the toughest one to get
To
kids
sell.
to eat. And so what we're doing is we're pushing the cooks to make them as good as they can and make them better and make them better and make them better. And then Angie's with the Hospital Foundation has a program called Catch, and they're going into the classrooms teaching the kids about vegetables. So we're trying to hit it from all sides because Connie and her cooks alone can't get kids to eat vegetables.
And then that's where we have our aides that they're a huge help out in the kitchens,
Yeah.
in the cafeterias, because again, like I said, having just expecting kids to see it on the tray and try it themselves, but having someone out there encouraging them, hey, let's take a bite together. And we've told the aides, come in and get some and you try it with them, because again, if they see adults eating it, then maybe they'll be more willing to try.
Connie, tell me how you got interested in I consider your job a profession, really. Seriously. Greg certainly is in a cooking profession, not a job. How did you come to your interest in this?
Well, I actually have a teaching degree, and I taught in Decatur for about 3 years. And then I came back to Lincoln. My kids were in high school and just kind of doing lots of sports, so I wanted to come back home because I grew up in Lincoln. And I actually worked at the junior high in the library, so I kind of have been all over in the school system. When Mr. Froebe approached me about this position, he just had that faith that I could do it, and I did well with managing, so I thought we're gonna try this and we'll see what I can do. But over the last 6 years I've just grown a lot with managing 15 to 18 cooks and staff members. It's
Good job, Kent.
She's done an excellent job. I
It
saw
is.
how she managed the library at the junior high, and I said she needs to run the kitchens across the district.
There's
That's
a
correct.
good superintendent. He's looking for the right people and knew what to do.
Yeah.
By the way, here we are, 8:45. 648-5510. Precluding our customers from calling in if they have any questions. These are three very important people in the lives of your school children, ladies and gentlemen. And you might have some questions about our food service system in District 27, so feel free to call in. Be nice to them. They're all very nice folks. 648-5510.
Can you give us a hint about a scratch menu as opposed to what they used to have in the olden days?
Yeah, we'll go with chicken strips. We just had that a few weeks ago, last week. Typically, it's our commodity. It's our processed ones. They come in. They just look like a normal chicken strip you would buy at frozen from Walmart. They only weigh about 0.87 ounces. So the kids usually get 2 or 3, depending on that. This last week with our fresh scratch day, we actually bought boneless, skinless chicken breasts raw, and the cooks went ahead and sliced those, and we kind of weighed them to make sure with our USDA and guidelines they have to have 2 ounces of meat. So the way that we cut them, again, it was our first time cutting them. Some of them were a little bit larger, so we weighed them to make sure. They weighed about the consistency of what they needed to. We did a 3-step breading. So it was
Flour, egg, breadcrumb.
Yep. And so we mix those, and it's kind of cool because with our staff, this all being new, our head cooks for some of these new items, our head cooks have been coming over to Central. So my 4 head cooks come over to Central, and we make for the entire district. So that day for chicken strips, 4 head cooks came over. Both Angie Whiteman, Angie Stolzenberg came, myself, and we came to Central and cranked out 1,100 servings. So it'd be about 2,200 chicken strips in about an hour. So we just kind of all worked together and got them all made to wear, and then they just had to take them back to their school and bake them. So
You know,
I
for a
bet-
guy, go ahead.
I bet there are some kids there who didn't know that chickens came in feathers. And
yeah, I know. Well, and that day, our principal at Central, Kelly Bodonage, she actually brought in some students, offered that up to teachers, and they brought in kids to come through the cafeteria. They all put on their hairnets, because I'm a rule follower and got to have those hairnets on. They came through the kitchen and watched the cooks and all of us as we're and we showed them the raw and showed them what it would look like afterwards, and so they all came through the kitchen and kind of watched that process, so they would know that's kind of what the chicken strip would be that next day.
For a guy whose expertise is milk toast with cinnamon on it, this is all kind of making my head spin. Greg, what was your earliest age that you got involved with your interest in preparation of food?
Well, as soon as my mom let me, I started making, I love pancakes. Maybe I just love the syrup. Now that I think of, now I'm
Probably.
58 now, so I'm thinking it was
Looking
probably the
back.
syrup. Right, looking back. And so the second she let me make pancakes, I was young. I used to like to wash dishes. I would stand on like a stool to wash dishes.
I wish you were my brother.
And it's kind of strange behavior now that I think about it, because I have 2 daughters and they never, Dad, can you get me the stool so I can wash all the dishes? So it was pretty early, and then I dropped out of college after a couple years, and Mom was pissed. Mom was
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah.
And I moved home, and she was not happy. So she said, okay, you're going to pay rent, and you're going to cook dinner every night.
There's a mother who's going to teach you something.
And I totally, it was not, I got a good job, so giving her some money was no big deal.
Yeah.
And making dinner every
That's
night.
not what she wanted.
Yeah, making dinner was like so fun for me. So I'm like, okay.
So
I'll
the
make dinner.
punishment wasn't really appropriate.
Right.
Heck.
Kent, first thing I want to mention is I don't think that any of us realize that the Abraham Lincoln Hospital Foundation was the genesis of this program for us. Little Angie, I call her Churchy all the time, because that was her maiden name. That's very important to this community. And so, we owe a debt of thanks and tip our hats to the direction of the Hospital Foundation.
Yes, absolutely. The Foundation Board has been instrumental in the community, and they recognize that obesity, I think, what they say, Logan County is the second most obese county in the state, and so they recognize that, and they want to do their part to help out, and they've really been instrumental in working with the school districts across the county. And so big kudos to Dolan, Dowpaws, and the Foundation Board for all that they do for Lincoln and Logan County.
Do you think this sort of dietary program is liable to spread in Illinois?
I hope so. I mean,
in interest of the benefit of all the kids.
yeah, and the farmers, because
let's talk about that a minute.
we are buying right now. We're at like 13% local food. That's dollars spent on
Now,
food.
how do you do that, sir?
Well, we calculate how much money Connie spends on food, and then how much of that is locally sourced.
But how do you get these local sources? That's my question.
We went to the Farm Bureau, and we went to Jim Drew.
Yeah.
And we said, Jim, can you pull together some farmers that grow food and raise animals? And he did, and we met them. And then Connie put out a request for bid and IFB, and then they sent in their bids, meaning I have pork, and I have this kind of pork at this price, and so a bunch of people won bids, and we're buying local beef, local pork, local vegetables. Even right now, we just got a shipment, and it's November. We just got like 20-30 pounds of garlic. Right now in the storeroom, we have
Butternut squash,
hundreds of pounds of butternut squash. We have hundreds of pounds of
lucky.
local beef.
sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes.
Yeah,
It's
potatoes.
beautiful, grown right around here. And by the time we leave, Connie will be at over 25% local food
That's
forever.
remarkable.
Forever.
Biscuits and gravy are phenomenal, and the sausage is from a local farm here in Logan County.
Holscatter pork.
Yeah.
Whole
tell
scatter.
us the names.
Holscatters, yeah, oh, lovely people.
Yes.
delicious.
Our beef comes from Two Hill Beef in Hayworth. And then our pork comes, and actually our ham for our turkey dinner is from Holscatter. So they just, we've got our ham for our turkey dinner, our Thanksgiving dinner, I should say. Then we get our vegetables from Wolf Creek in Williamsville, and a Warwick family farm, and they're in Downs, Illinois. And then Moon Girl Farm, and she's in Pleasant Plains.
This is just monumentally innovative.
Yes.
And this
I
is going
mean,
to grow.
totally.
This
It is.
list is going to grow. I'm getting phone calls on my cell phone from farmers. Hey, how do I get in on that action? I've been following the videos because we shoot a video a week and to help the community understand what's happening. And farmers are calling me, and they're going to be calling Connie because farmers markets are great,
Oh, yeah,
but they need another outlet.
yeah.
You know.
Well, and I
Well,
see
and-
this growing nationally too. Don't you see it? I mean, and you already work in Hawaii and in New York and Chicago, and you're getting ready to present in Portland, Oregon so Connie's going to be going along with Angie Stolzenberg and Chef Greg and his team and presenting out in Portland, Oregon. So it's
Well, see, and money makes the world go round, for better or worse. I pass no judgment. But you have a budget that you have to live within.
Correct.
The farmers have to make money,
Correct.
or they can't be a farmer.
Right.
So this scratches everybody's back at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the farmers. I mean, the specialty crop farmers employ a lot of people. You know, there's Illinois mostly corn and beans, and it definitely helps the world go round.
Right.
Definitely, but they have it down to a science where one person can, do 1,000 or 2,000 acres. Good for them. I mean
Yeah.
it. Good for them. But these vegetable growers, they can employ 5, 10, 15, 20 people on a small area, and Connie spends in one small school district hundreds of thousands of dollars on food.
Oh, yeah.
And so if we can get $50,000 to the farmers, then 75, then 100, let's keep the money in town.
Amen.
In Illinois, look
in the
hopefully-
central area, right?
in the central Illinois. I mean, for sure we want to support Logan, right? But
Right.
if there isn't someone that has garlic in Logan, then let's go to the next county because
Right.
we need the garlic.
Mr. Froebe, there's an expression that I do not understand, and I'd like for the viewers to know more about it. Lincoln 27 and beyond. Could you touch on that just a little bit, bearing in mind that the doggone clock is running away on us?
Well, I think it was a situation where we knew that we were starting this Scratch initiative, and so it was how do we want to brand ourselves, and so we thought we'd put Lincoln 27, and then Beyond Green Partners is where Chef Greg is, so we put Lincoln 27 and Beyond together, and like I
That's the
said,
partnership.
right, and that's the partnership, and it's
And we hope it goes past Mr. Frobe's school district, because now that he's tasted it over the last 3 months, and he's been around the block, right? He sees, other people can do this. It's nice to be the first and his phone's ringing. People are calling him. I have a school superintendent in Crystal Lake, John Butte. Dr. Butte's going to be calling Mr. Frobe because he wants to come down and visit.
And see how it works.
And I think next step, the new superintendent of the high school, Dwight Strickland, he's doing a wonderful job out at the high school. He's already asked me about sending kids over from the high school to sample some of the meals, and that's a big deal because he services West Lincoln Broadwell as well, and some of the other New Holland, Middletown, some of the other districts. So definitely, looking to grow in Logan County to scratch cooking and
gotta be some
as
happy
many
mothers
schools as
out there.
possible.
There has to be some happy parents.
Yes, and I do. We've been getting lots of great reviews, and
Good, Connie.
we go to different activities that the school provides and have taste testings for parents because we want them to try it too.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
interesting.
we have we've done, like Adams has had a family night. and we had their black bean brownies. We've had those on the menu. The kids love them, so they were a huge hit, and you wouldn't think there was black beans in them. So, but different schools are having different activities and just asking us to make some food just to have parents, because we want
But
to
how
have parents.
fresh and new is this? I mean, when we were in school, Bill and I don't think they knew they grew black beans anyplace in the first place. And in the second place, who'd have thought?
Yes.
Who'd have thought? Oh, that is so clever. You people are really right there.
You know, I didn't realize this is going to be so doggone informative.
Should we have them back every week?
I think we should come back once a month to update you.
Yeah.
But I don't get a vote.
Oh, heck, you do too. We're a democracy.
Before we do sign off, which I'm not ready to do quite yet, but I almost blew this signal, and I live there, so I might get thrown out. Open house this Thursday, November the 14th. Not this Thursday, anyway. Thursday, November the 14th, open house at the Christian Village, 4 to 7 p.m. Come and enjoy an evening of good food and learn more about the Christian Village community. I moved in there recently. Well, recently, it's a year in March. And one of the best moves I've made in my career for a long time. Anyway, they take good care of us out there. I don't know who I am half the time, and I just walk around and look.
Someone will tell you.
They take me by the elbow and lead me home. No, I don't want to. The folks do a great job out there at Christian Village. They really do. So Thursday, November the 14th is their open house, and you are cordially invited. I'd like to cordially invite these folks back again. This has been very informative to the old fella.
Oh, gosh, yes. I've enjoyed this immensely. Thank you for doing this for our town and our students and our school. And Mr. Froebe, you're a nice man.
Well, thank
That's
you.
what Mrs. Froebe thinks, anyway.
Maybe this spring we could come back and let you know once we fully go to complete scratch cooking, how it's going and
please
kind of
and thank you.
We'd
yeah,
like
we
to
could
do that. Yeah,
That'd be
Please
great.
and this I'm going to make a statement.
Okay, do it.
This may be one of the most informative programs we've had in a long time. So Greg, do you have anything you'd like to sum up with, sir?
Yeah, I'd like to invite you in for lunch anytime that you want to come by the school.
We'd love
Oh,
that.
how nice.
And bring the team, especially the big guy at the front door is very interesting.
He's a nice man.
We can let him tell ghost stories to the kindergartners. I'm totally kidding. You know,
There you go.
Keep him away from those kids.
No, but we'd love to have come in
We
and try
appreciate that.
We
a
does.
new
And we'll
scratch
just
menu.
take you up on that.
That's
Judith and I.
nice. Yeah, we will.
Yeah. If we can. Connie, thank you for being with us.
Thank you
Thank you for doing
for
such a
having us.
good job for our kids in District 27.
Yes,
Amen.
And if you wanna-
they are my passion.
And if you want to wave the flag for your brother, it's okay.
Oh, you know.
All right, we'll close with our usual summation. Be the reason somebody smiled today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
thank you.
Thank